There are more than 41,000 Chinese restaurants in the United States. That's more than McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Burger King combined. Many serve an American version of Chinese food. Others keep it, or at least try to keep it, authentic. But in between, there's a new type of Chinese food that defies borders. CGTN's Han Peng joins us from New York in front of one restaurant that's redefining Chinese cuisine. Han Peng, good evening to you.
Good evening. Asia, China's restaurant is incredibly popular here in the United States. It generates $16 billion of sales each year here in the US. And right behind me is a Chinese food restaurant, which is extremely popular in New York City. It's actually named the best Chinese food restaurant all across the city. And just now we paid a visit inside their kitchen to find out more about their secret recipe to the success.
Be careful, they are very hot.
Over the past 5 years, the top-rated Chinese restaurant in New York is Decoy, according to popular food guide Zagat. It specializes in Peking duck, but the owner is not Chinese.
You could go to a Chinese restaurant and get really good dim sum, really good dumplings, really good xiaolongbao, really good hot swan latang, really good hot and sour soup. That's done in a very thoughtful way, but then also get a steak.
So among all these food styles, why did you choose the Chinese food?
If you were an American, Jewish, New York person who came from the background that many of my peers did growing up, when our families went out to eat, a French restaurant would be very expensive and luxurious, not such an easy place to go. But a Chinese restaurant was a very normal place to go when we wanted something different, that tasted different, that was a whole different food system, but was easy to like.
Decoy is one of the two Chinese restaurants Edward Schoenfeld owns in the same building. The other, Red Farm, specializes in dumpling, was #1 for years, but it was beaten by his own restaurant, Decoy.
We gotta put the chopped ginger in the chicken broth.
He credits much of the success to his partner, Joe In.
And cook it for like five minutes.
The chef from Hong Kong says he created every dish by combining Chinese and Western cuisines.
We work a lot of different ingredients, different kind of Western vegetable, different kind of taste, different kind of flavor, and just change the original ingredient to the different ingredient, sometimes with the same skill of cooking, but the different ingredient. The Chinese food is changed from 50 years ago. Now it's like totally different.
One dish starts with a traditional shrimp dumpling, is topped with a pan-seared scallop, and finished with watercress sauce, a fried wonton, and caviar.
I think most people right now who eat the food, they want surprise. They want something new, and they want more creative, but still not going out with the Chinese culture.
Another dish looks like a traditional egg roll, but it is actually filled with Jewish pastrami and cabbage.
We share our food like family style. It's not like Western individual play. We don't share. That's what I want to change right now. That's what I want to talk to all the chefs in the world, the Chinese chef. We have to change our portion. Smaller, small plate, so people can try more different things.
So in order to promote the Chinese food, do you think it's more important to keep its authentic styles, or do you think it's more important to localize the food and make it tailor-made to the population that you're trying to appeal to?
I think the answer to your question is that there's room for both. The most important thing, whether you're making traditional or non-traditional food, or appealing to trying to cater to your customer or being more authentic, is that what you do is genuine, that it's made with good ingredients, that it's made with sound culinary understanding and technique. I know that my partner Joe and I look for, before everything else, we want our food to be delicious.
Ed says what began as an appeal to Westerners is now catching on with tourists from China, showing good food truly knows no boundaries.
Let's bring it out there.
I see the Red Farm even has a Spring Festival special menu for guests. Actually, on the top of it is the black truffle chicken soup dumplings, which is incredibly delicious. I tried it once. Here, the restaurant told us that last Friday is the Chinese Spring Festival, and they had 8 to 9 turnovers of table in just one meal. Asia.
Nice. And we also saw the Peking duck in your story. All right, fess up. How did it compare to the duck you've had back home in China? Be honest.
Actually, I gotta say, surprisingly, it's different and it's better here in the United States. You know, when I tasted the Beijing roast duck here in this restaurant, they used the cranberry sauce instead of the traditional Chinese salty sauce, which is very rare in China, not just because the Chinese people would rarely eat the cranberry, but also because the Chinese people would think that it's, you know, a little bit weird to have the sweet and salty things mixed together in their food, and that is why they always choose the traditional salty sauce. But here, when it tasted, it just worked really fine for me, and it's incredibly delicious. And the chef told us that in the past, Chinese people would focus a lot about, you know, getting people fed for each meal because the country has just recovered from poverty and starvation just a few decades ago. But today, the Chinese people focus a lot about making their food more delicate and more healthy, as well as making it more creative. So perhaps when the Chinese visitors come to the United States next time, they can, you know, visit more restaurants and steal more secret recipes from the Western-style food and bring them back into the Chinese kitchen. Back to you, Asia.
All right, bon appetit. Han Peng, live for us outside Decoy restaurant in New York City. Thank you.